connects with Martin's question, which is, my daughters, they love the Gracie game days. They they love the Gracie games in practicing. But can you toss them a few motivational words to keep them rolling during this isolation?
So two separate questions. One for two sons. Two sons that we want to keep grounded because maybe the sons
are so fired up.
they're so, jiu-jitsu is so much, it's everything to them. It's taking over, which I think is okay, so long as they are the drive behind that passion.
Yes.
If the parent is saying, go and do this, go and compete and train more, it's one thing. But if the child is saying, hey, I want to go do more jiu-jitsu, let them lead, and it's all good. And depending on their age, there's no doubt, I don't believe there's any doubt that if you could be 7, 10, 14, 16, these are all kids that live at home potentially. Almost every child, I believe, will reach a moment where they're a little bit burnt out about the jiu-jitsu. And I believe that the chances of them feeling that, I don't want to do this anymore, are much greater if the parent is forcing or putting a little extra pressure to practice or to compete or to even perform better in class. If the parent is constantly on the child when they're in class and correcting them, these are the type of things that make it to where it's no longer enjoyable. But if the child is in charge and the passion comes from within them.
So what do you recommend for all the parents out there is the best thing to say to their children after a training session or after they go to class?
That's great. That's cool. Victoria has taught me not to say, great job, when the child does class. You watch their class for an hour, hey, you did a great job today.
Why not?
Because that almost puts it on, now the child is looking for the extrinsic, right, validation, or it's not intrinsic. So we don't, because if it's a good job today, I might not say anything next Tuesday. And then it's, I didn't do good, I didn't get your approval, I didn't get the same energy, I didn't get the same pat on the back, I didn't get the same dinner at the restaurant after the class, who knows? So the most important thing to say is, I really enjoyed watching you today. Or how was the class for you?
Fun.
And they can say it was fun, or yeah, it was a little frustrating. And you say, yeah, it looked a little frustrating to you, want to tell me more about it? And you go from there. But I enjoyed watching you. Whatever they're doing, I just enjoyed watching you. It was a pleasure to be here watching you. Now, to say that, you have to actually be watching them. You can't be on your phone the whole hour when they're in the class, which I know that sometimes class is phone time for you and class for them, but then you just simply say, I hope you had a good class.
Right.
Or you watch them because you know that when you say, I really enjoyed watching you, they feel somewhat proud that they're doing it and that you enjoyed watching it, and it makes them feel good to know that you're there because you're saying that jiu-jitsu matters. By you being there, taking them to jiu-jitsu class, you're saying jiu-jitsu matters. By watching the class, you're saying jiu-jitsu matters. And by doing jiu-jitsu classes yourself,
boom. What about kids need motivation, words of encouragement right now for kids who are training, they're at home, they're doing it, they can't go to class right now. Listen, kids, besides the fact that this is a great opportunity, and adults also, for parents and children to do this together in their houses. I'm training with my sons more than I ever have at home during coronavirus, and we own Gracie University, and I haven't trained my kids as much as I have in the last 2 weeks. So it's great for us. Take advantage of this time together, 15 minutes a day. It doesn't have to be crazy. Watch Gracie Bullyproof, do 1 or 2 Gracie games, have fun, go have dinner afterwards. So very minimal training. You don't have to do too much any given day. Keep track of what you're learning, kids, because whatever you learn and practice, when you go back and demonstrate it to your teacher, you're going to get credit on your card towards your next promotion. So make sure you guys are tracking all this at-home progress. In terms of motivation, all I can say is this, kids. There are 2 lives to be lived. A life grown up with jiu-jitsu and a life grown up without jiu-jitsu. We don't know the without jiu-jitsu life because we didn't have a choice. We were 2 years old doing jiu-jitsu, we grew up, we had it our whole lives. So we don't know what it's like to grow up and go through middle school, high school, and have all the challenges that come and not have jiu-jitsu at our disposal. We only know what life is like with jiu-jitsu.
and life is good.
I can't say it's better than without. I can just say it's amazing to grow up and be the person amongst your friends who actually knows how to fight, who actually knows how to physically use your body in ways that nobody else knows unless they also do jiu-jitsu, and to be able to protect other people as much as yourself. One day there was a volleyball practice. I was in high school, maybe 10th grade, right, 15, 16 years old, volleyball practice. The coach didn't show up, and there's 14, 15 kids. And they all knew I did jiu-jitsu. They're all ages, even older than me. They all kind of know. And one kid was like, Henry, what's up with that jiu-jitsu stuff? And I said, what's up? He says, yeah, I mean, do you do that? And, does it actually work? I said, I don't know. You want to find out? He said, yeah, I do. I said, cool, let's go right here. And there was a basketball gym, right, volleyball, which means hardwood floor, like what we have in here. But it's a little bit soft, right? Hardwood floor is not like concrete. It has a little forgiveness.
It's a little volleyball.
It's a little volleyball-y. So you fall in a basketball game, it's all good. So I ended up sparring all 15 boys volleyball team back to back to back. Everybody tapped. Because the coach never showed up. Tap, boom, next, 12 seconds, 30 seconds, 15 seconds. After that, you guys, the word was out. Yo, that Henry guy, he does jiu-jitsu and he gets down and you won't believe what he did. And he tapped on this and he blah, 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 and did all that. That was one, I was like, yes, great to have this skill. And this is cool because some people didn't know about my family and Gracie family. Not that you have to fight everybody to prove yourself. I'm just saying it was amazing. That's number one. Number two, Marvin. We were at the lunch benches, having a peaceful afternoon at the lunch benches over there, everyone minding their business. There was a kid in my grade, Marvin, who I wasn't a friend with, but we grew up together, so we're in the same grade, so we know we exist, coexist. Big kid, like 200 pounds in high school, 210, tall like me, and just a big, hefty kid. And one day I look over, and Marvin is just cussing, absolutely shredding apart this little kid who was probably a grade or two lower. This is probably 11th grade for us, and this kid was a 9th grader, I believe. Just shredding him apart, cussing and yelling in his face, and it looked like he was about to rip his head off and just beat him up. And I immediately saw this. I had no story. I didn't know anything about what I had just seen. I got up instantly and went over and boom, back up. And I pushed Marvin away from the kid, and I got right in between him and I. Hey, man, what's your problem? I said, hey, I don't know. Leave him alone. Blah, 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 blah. I said, it doesn't matter. You have a problem with him, you have a problem with both of us. I didn't know the kid.
You didn't even know if the kid.
I didn't know if the kid was wrong or right. I didn't know whose fault it was.
So you probably shouldn't have done that.
But I knew that what could have happened in that moment
Marvin attacked you.
could have changed their lives forever. I knew that they could have fought. Marvin could have punched him violently because he doesn't have jiu-jitsu to do it gently. Could have cracked him in the skull, fell down, broke his teeth. We don't know.
Bro, you saved Marvin.
Exactly.
Marvin could have been expelled, arrested.
I put out a fire that I had nothing to do with. And that's what we try to teach in Gracie Bully Proof, is learn jiu-jitsu, not even for yourself. That's what we teach in jiu-jitsu, in life, in combatives, in Master Cycle, Women Empowered. Learn how to defend yourself. 99% chance so that you can protect someone else. 1% chance that you end up having to survive in a situation. But that's not the most likely. So kids especially, learn jiu-jitsu because you can be a real-life superhero if you can help a situation that no one else could have helped because they didn't have the skills or the confidence to intervene like you have and can.
So I gotta say a few things. One, you said the volleyball coach, was it volleyball?
Yes, volleyball coach. No, I was on the volleyball team for like a few months.
You played volleyball, got it.
No, I didn't play.
I didn't know you played volleyball.
No, I didn't
I
play.
didn't know you were a volleyball player.
No, there was a
Okay,
girl
so
who
either way,
worked in the team
no
who I was trying to get
volleyball.
close to. So I joined the team just to kind of talk to this girl, and then one day the guy showed up, so I never actually played.
Either way, Henry's volleyball coach never showed up. But the coach showed up. You became the coach that day.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was a great lesson for these kids.
I never
Now,
thought about it.
another thing is this, is that when I think about you saying, 15 minutes of practice,
Yes.
sometimes parents believe because an hour or an hour and a half is so common in jiu-jitsu practice,
Yes.
if they want to carve out like a jiu-jitsu practice window
Yes.
and put mats out
No.
and DVDs
No.
and put our gis on, it's a process.
Nope.
It is not, I'm sorry, it doesn't have to be like that. It can be you play with your children on the carpet, no mats, no gis, no nothing, for 7 minutes. You say 15 minutes. It could be
Too much.
7 minutes.
It'd be 2 moves.
It could be 2 moves.
Spider
It could
kid.
be on their way to the refrigerator. You just start checking their base and you ask them a question. You discuss the topic. It's very little. So by you taking that approach, it also shows them that it's less about them being amazing at jiu-jitsu, but more about them having an understanding of what he's
It's
talking
like
about,
language.
having some basic survival skills that they can take with them throughout their lives. So, and even for children, because children see parents and other kids doing jiu-jitsu that are very into it. And maybe a part of them thinks, you know what, I can't be as into it as those kids.
So there's no middle ground.
Correct,
All
but there
or
is
nothing.
a middle ground.
True.
That's the thing. So it's up to the parent to create that middle ground. And you do that by not doing the mats, by not wearing the gi, by not making a schedule, by whenever it makes sense.
There you go. And that's the same as my house. Literally, if I want to do jiu-jitsu, I just lay on the floor. 2 boys just come running and jump on me. And then all of a sudden I'm checking his base.
Mm-hmm.
I'm turning over, he's doing crazy horse. So you learn the Gracie games formally somewhere else at a different time when you watch them, but you deploy them throughout the day randomly.
Yeah. And it becomes more formal when the child,
Yes.
the child will say, hey, can we do jiu-jitsu tomorrow
So I can
morning?
get some credits or something?
Correct.
We like
They're going to start giving you indicators that you say, okay, hey, if you want to do more, do you want me to, here's this card, or here's this sheet of paper, it's all printed out. Do you want to check off all the ones that you know? And they say, no, I don't care, done. And then leave the card right there. Whenever you're ready, let me know. So once again, the child is leading. You are just ready. And if the child says, hey, you don't say, hey child, you know what, here's a piano, go start learning it. Or whatever it may be, or drawing. You have paper and pen out. And when they grab it and they start drawing, you watch them. And as they go, you facilitate by giving them more,
resources to develop that skill.
More
That's what
tools.
you are. You're a resource to help develop that skill, but let them lead.
Last one?
But if your kid's in jiu-jitsu, don't quit.
If your kid's in jiu-jitsu.
Once you're doing jiu-jitsu 2, 3, 4 years, 7 years old, 8 years old, 9 years old, I don't want to do jiu-jitsu anymore. Not an option. Not in my house. Next question.
Say that again. So
We differ in our
if
opinions
a
on this.
9-year-old kid wants to
9-year-old kid wants to quit
Seven-year-old
jiu-jitsu,
kid wants to quit.
no, I want to go home and play video games.
the parent says
I want
no,
to play video games.
you can't quit.
I want to play video games. I don't want to go to jiu-jitsu anymore. I'm 11. I want to play video games.
I understand.
My answer is no.
You cannot
You
quit.
cannot quit. You have to do your homework. You have to go to school, do your actual homework.
Mm-hmm.
You have to eat vegetables twice a week, whatever, more than that, should be 5 days a week. Now, some kids are tough, And you have to learn self-defense. By the time you're 18, you can decide if you want to learn self-defense or not.
Listen.
But this is something you have to know. You have to know how to swim, you have to know how to ride a bike, you have to know how to read and write, you have to know how to add and subtract, and you have to know how to defend yourself. Because putting a kid out into the world without them knowing how to defend themselves is like letting a kid turn to 18 without you ever having taught them how to swim because they didn't like going in the pool.
So-
No, have to do this. This is mandatory.
So listen.
I want to see what the comments are on this.
Hold on. So I agree with what you're saying, but that requires a certain connection between parent and child.
Well, that's what jiu-jitsu's for.
No. Other connection in other ways.
I know it does.
Because if the parent, for example, is consumed with work, you understand, and is very short with the child, and it's very difficult to really be there fully for your child.
Yes.
And really connect to the child. Even I have a hard time with this, and I feel like I'm getting better. So only when you are fully connected to them and you take time and you hear them and you're there for them, can you say something like, I'm not gonna let you quit, it's too important.
Yes.
Because if things are rocky in other areas, and you say
I'm
you
with it.
can't quit, now you have an 11, 13-year-old that is now angry.
Yeah.
But it doesn't allow it to become anger because they feel so supported and so loved everywhere else.
It's true.
So
I'm with it. I agree.
the last thing you want is a 15-year-old being forced to do something, because 16-year-olds are doing what these days?
Yeah.
Disappearing.
Gone.
Who knows how they can rebel, and they might go to jiu-jitsu, but we don't know what they're going to do on the other side. You understand?
Right.
17 years old, they're gone, never call you again. So our grandfather always said, when the child turns 18, they're either your friend or they're not your friend. When they're 18, 19, 20, they're going to ask you for advice when life throws challenges at them, or they're going to go figure it out on their own and not ask you for advice. And whether or not they come to you has so much to do with how the energy was and how you treated them throughout all of the small challenges at 9 years old, 12, 14. And when they said, I don't want to do jiu-jitsu, and you say, sorry, you have to. Versus, I can see you don't want to do jiu-jitsu, and we can change the date, we can do private classes, we can do with whatever instructor you like. There are ways to do jiu-jitsu, but you still have to do jiu-jitsu. You and I can do jiu-jitsu. If you train jiu-jitsu as a parent at home, we can do jiu-jitsu, you and I, for an hour, once a week. That can be an option if you don't want to go to class.
That counts.
So they don't have to do jiu-jitsu how they're doing it.
Correct.
Which shows that you're working with them. And then when you do that, what happens when they turn 18, 19, and they get somebody pregnant? They go to you first because you're a safe
So
person.
there you go. Having the requirement to do jiu-jitsu for the rest of your life is only possible if the relationship is there to make that type of expectation a reality, and for them to understand the benefits because they trust the source of that, and there's a solid communication foundation relationship.
Yep.
I love that.